Full disclaimer, Koei Tecmo Games provided the copy for this review. The Empire, long divided, must unite. Long united, must divide. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Soggy Bob, and today we're going to take you through Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake. Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake released on the 23rd of October 2024 on the current platforms the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 and Windows via Steam. 8 Remake, or 8 Remake I'll call it now, has over 1,000 playable officers and a number of different roles from bandit to ruler. Romance of the Three Kingdoms is set in the turbulent years towards the end of the Han Dynasty and the Three Kingdoms period in Chinese history, starting in the year 184 AD and ending with the reunification of the land in 280 by the Western Jin. The novel is based primarily on the records of the Three Kingdoms written by Chen Shu in the 3rd century. There was no need for conscription, as the conflicts of the late Han Dynasty created willing recruits who sought protection under a very strong army. This type of soldier, characterized by a lack of loyalty to state or nation, primarily concerned with survival, made up the majority of the army outside of the leader's close following. Due to the lack of loyalty among common troops, acts of heroism and courage were particularly emphasized among commanders who were expected to lead from the front. Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8, it's an officer-based Romance of the Three Kingdoms, so they come in 2 different versions, officer-based and ruler-based. Officer-based is more contingent on the experiences of individual officers, friendships and relationships gained, and making use of them on the battlefield. Kind of like going to war with your friends. Ruler-based ones are more along the lines of the actions of a nation of a whole and are less about the individual, although some individuals are very helpful in certain battles. Anyone who's fought Lu Bu will tell you that. I've decided for my example to create a character. I did this on stream, so I do have some bits and bobs that I can take from this video. There are many portraits of both real characters and real historical figures to fictional ones to ones that are strictly just created for create a warrior or create an officer settings. It's also noted that the voices of Dio Brando and Kazuma Kiryu are in this game. I'm no expert with voice acting, but the moment you start a battle, you hear Kazuma Kiryu, the voice actor, and you immediately just get chills. There isn't any English dialogue though. There is a large number of custom slots for created characters. This could potentially open the door for created character customs. A lot of them are done on YouTube. You can get a ton of subscribers, lists of something like Patreon, have these players and their characters included in the game. Unfortunately, there is no multiplayer in this specific version of Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake. I say in this specific version because the original does have hot seat multiplayer, so there is that potential that multiplayer could rear its head in something along the lines of, say, Power Up Kit. But if it's not in the original, I wouldn't completely bank on it, but I also wouldn't completely give up on it either. So the options are there, but if you wanted to create a list of friends, family members, give them characters, give them a stat sheet, you can also roleplay and let other people know their fate. There was one interesting thing that I did pick up from Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake, and that was the musical score. The score immediately lets you know exactly where you stand as far as this game is concerned. It's not a... well, I stream, so I would usually like to play something that's a little bit more impactful, but this is definitely a chill game. My recommendation is this is like a great off-stream, kickback, Sunday kind of game. It can steal hours away from you, possibly even days. I've lost so much time to this game without even noticing it, and I love it. Now that we have a character or an officer that we've created, custom of course, but there's various different options available. There are recommended officers with full detailed tutorials for each class of the game. Say class, stage, for example, from free citizen all the way up to ruler. And then there's like an example campaign of each. Then you've got selected historical officers, and then you've just got scenarios that you can pick, and then you can pick an officer that's available within that scenario. So there's various different options available for getting you started in the game. Whether you have knowledge of the Three Kingdoms, or if you don't have knowledge of the Three Kingdoms, the game will look after you. So this is a fantastic starter romance of the Three Kingdoms. Okay, there are a whopping 55 scenarios across Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake. The starting scenarios are essentially just building blocks. So imagine a game like Mount & Blade Warband or Mount & Blade Bannerlord from Tower Worlds Entertainment. Imagine the game, but you can say, hey, I just want to play the game 20 years in. I want to start in the mid game, I want to start in the late game. And your character, they can be born anytime around there once you set it. And if they are to pass away through battle, through sickness, through old age, yes, it's possible, you can then continue the game through any significant relationship that you make, any children, wives, life goes on. So this like war, this civil war period did run for just about 100 years. So it's safe to say that this is going to be generations of fighting. I did actually consider creating like an old man character, and then the children would just inherit the will and just go on to take over China. As you can see, some options are blacked out, they just need to be unlocked, and that's just part of the progression. So never feel like you have to commit to a full entire campaign. Sometimes you can just have a regional victory, or you can have a victory that's just based on your character's goals alone, like being the best martial artist, being the most cultured person in the country, or just being the world's biggest slanderer and bandit. You can also raise your infamy, and there is an infamy ending for that. So there's something for everyone here. And you can be any type of person, or you can convert any type of person. If they were good in history, you can make them bad in the game. Why not? The world is yours. In my streamed playthrough, I'd only been partway through the tutorial, and due to my created character's statistics, I was immediately approached to join the Persian army. So what you can probably see on the screen at the moment is the Parliament screen. You will see Parliament at the start of every 3-month period. You would have Parliament, there would be decisions made and jobs meted out if you're a common officer. This will be where major army movements or troop movements would happen. So they would happen at the start of every season: spring, summer, autumn, winter. Once a decision is made, whether you go to war or not, that's discussed and executed on the Parliament screen. After jobs are given out, if nothing is happening, you have the 3 months to execute and complete those jobs. These jobs can go from increasing public order to maintaining castle walls. It would also be to increasing commerce, developing farmland, and making advancements in technology in the workshop. Now, all of these are attributed to every statistic. So the stats of your character will matter in any job in the city. So if you are very good at least one, say, statistic, then that will make you good for at least one of the jobs in the town. And then that would essentially be the flow of the game as you execute jobs, but you have the freedom to go around and mingle, meet as many other officers, maybe meet a spouse, and forge bonds. That will definitely help you on the battlefield, because being on the battlefield with no friends does not help you much in Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake. It's very much a relationship-driven game with a little bit of grand strategy sprinkled in there that just sets the period up. What you are currently witnessing now is the Tails system. So the Tails system in Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake is essentially a way of progressing historical events, or potentially fictional, but mainly historical events. And if people are in the right places and the situation is correct, they can advance and they can make specific changes. People can die, people can join different forces. Forces might just entirely dissolve whatsoever. You might find yourself under a different ruler. If depending on the officers, you might find yourself married to someone or have antagonistic friends. Various things can happen with trials. Some are more like side quests, although a lot of Tales are essentially a way of working around history. This also allows you at will to manipulate history in a way that's favorable to yourself. So ones that are historical, they may have a time limit, like you have a certain amount of time. As long as these pieces are in this place, you're able to execute it, but you have full reign to treat it as a sandbox or historical. But you can also change details so that history is not a factor in the equation. They're just a sandbox and you start from there. So full customization is available and is definitely a great factor in Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8. It is open-ended or strict and rigid to the story as you wish it to be. So you're free now to do anything you want. So I will skip through to a few certain parts so I can kind of show different mechanics, because the main bulk of your time will be preparing in towns, training, meeting new people, traveling, and essentially becoming stronger until your specialty is needed. And when that specialty is needed, you get to execute with great effect. So more preparation than over-the-top gameplay. But once you get the ball rolling, there's nothing stopping you. Okay, so we've come to a duel. Duels between officers can occur during battles and certain events. You can also choose to participate in a duel via practice in the interact section of the menu. Win or lose, you gain trust with them, because when you fight someone, expect it. Officers compete in a one-on-one battle, and the officer with the highest strength stat, STR, has the advantage. At the beginning of a duel, the officer with the highest strength stat deals a blow to their opponents, and the opening attack is based on who's stronger, they get the hit. And then a card battle begins. So after 5 rounds, you or your opponent win by reducing the opponent's stamina to 0 or having more stamina remaining than your opponent. Sometimes if the power difference is high enough, you could potentially just hit them, take them down to 0 with one attack. So in terms of the cards, winning the round is determined by the following order. So the number of cards played, so if you deal more cards than your opponent, you attack. And then if you deal the same number of cards, the sum on the card numbers is tallied up. If you have 2 5s to make 10, but I put down 1, 2, 3, that's still 3 cards and still beats your 10, even though 1, 2, 3 is a total less than 10. So The victor, or the person who wins that card, the card hand, will deal damage to the opponent, and the damage is always the same amount. If the number of cards and the total sum is the same for both officers, it's a draw and no damage is dealt and all the cards are discarded. Bear in mind there is a finite number of cards. You can play multiple cards if you have at least 2 of the same number or at least 3 sequentially numbered cards. So if you've got a couple of 1s, a couple of 2s, a couple of 3s, for example, you can just play them, or as many of the number you have. But if you want to deal a large amount, you'd have to have 1, 2, 3, or 2, 3, 4, or 3, 4, 5. Of course, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's, 4 ones. When you have a special card, so everyone can use a special card once. This specific special card just increases the amount of power that attack does, because most attacks do the same, but you can use a special card to do an even stronger attack. Now, duels during actual battles, yes, you attack someone during a battle and then you offer them out for a duel, it can greatly affect the unit as a whole. So the morale of the winning officer's unit increases and the defeated officer will decrease. If a unit leader loses a duel by having their stamina reduced to 0, their entire unit scatters. If a unit leader loses a duel but still has stamina, or if a deputy fights, because you can have more than one officer in a unit, the unit just loses soldiers and morale instead. But officers who lose a duel may potentially injure or die on the spot. The same essential factors is the same for debates. Debates work the same way as well. Same card system, just to make it easier across the board, and is a bit more streamlined and very much user-friendly when you get down to it. I like the system. It's a big thumbs up from me. Okay, it's time to get down to the meat and bones of exactly what happens when it comes to battles. A large majority of your time is preparation for battles, both large and small, which will dictate the future and the fate of your force, if you run your own force or a ruler's force, and a lot of the influence that you have across the political landscape of Romance of the Fleet. So you choose your troops. There is a rock, paper, scissors, just as the art of war says. Cavalry beat bows, bows beat infantry, and infantry beat cavalry. Infantry is essentially spearmen in this game. With that being said, when you start a battle, you select all of your units. They work very much like the Tell Worlds Entertainment Mount and Blade system. The officer in the unit with the highest statistic or skill, they dictate what's going to be used. If there are 2 officers in the unit and they both have a skill, if one skill has level 3, the skill when it's used is level 3. It's not going to be level 1. You can have up to 3 officers in the same unit, but it does also help to spread your officers out into different units, so you can have more. That's also possible as well for you to be able to do. When you get to higher ranks, you'll be able to control and command higher numbers of units, although this also costs more supplies, so try and find a decent balance. When you go to march out, you only have 30 days to settle the battle. So in this, every movement, every time all of your units have moved once and all of the enemy have moved once, that's 1 day. So there's no difficult time limit to the battle. That's really, you can do everything that you need to do in the space of a battle. It's more about what you do with the time you're given, how you make your move. So to start off, we will have a war council. And on the war council, you can choose what grand stratagems you wish to use. You can have the opening positions of your units set up. You can do this automatic if you want it to be simple. You can do it manually if you want to focus on going in a certain direction. If you're the commander, you can give orders right there and then. But if you're the staff or the officer or interim tactician for the battlefield, you can make direct suggestions right there and then. So if you're in charge, you can do it the way you want. If you are a staff officer, you can say, hey, may we do this? And then they will decide whether it's going to happen. Just like heaven dictates many battles, there are various different factors that can influence the battle. Most important is weather and wind direction. If you're familiar with the romance of the Three Kingdoms, you'll understand that in ancient battles, fire was a very real tactic. I wouldn't say something like Greek fire, but it's fire tactics. Setting fires, various soldiers being attacked in a fire attack, for example, that can lead to hundreds of men being wiped out very, very quickly. Sometimes even thousands. Because fire is a very valid tactic. It instills fear. It takes that animalistic part of your brain and just induces fight or flight immediately. Nobody wants to be around, in, or even fighting within a fire. And you want to be on the right side of that tactical side. So there are essentially 5 separate weather conditions: sunny, cloudy, rain, heavy rain, and snow. So from those 5, being sunny, cloudy, rain, heavy rain, and snow, those also affect your visibility. And going towards the end, from sunny to snow, that also influences fires as well. So if there's heavy rain, that will guarantee extinguish any fires. So you want it to be sunny, cloudy, or possibly raining, and with the correct. But fire, as we all know, spreads. So be very careful when it comes to fire attacks. You might sometimes burn your own units. And if a unit is in fire, they lose troops and they lose morale at the start of their turn if they're in the fire. You can push enemies into fire, for example, if you wish as a tactic, but be wary of the wind direction and always fight upwind of a fire, so that the fire pushes towards the enemy. And you can sometimes essentially just zone of control and keep them in the fire so they have to fight, and they will just lose morale in units and they'll have deserters. Because if your morale gets too low, thousands of soldiers will just leave. That's their nature. Their nature is survival. They don't care who they're fighting for. There's no pride in there's no pride in their location. They're fighting like probably thousands of miles away from home, or hundreds of miles away from home, and they want to live. So if defecting means they live, or running away to fight another battle for another lord exists, they will do that. Such as the time of the period. That's why we know so much about officers and we know less about individual soldiers. There are 4 different wind directions: no wind, light wind, medium wind, and heavy wind all affect fire. So weather affects the field of view and the tactics that can be used. Some tactics can be used in some weather conditions, others cannot. It changes with the passage of days. It can also be changed by using a specific tactic called core weather. Some weather, like rain or snow, reduces visibility. It can also extinguish flames more easily. Whenever there's heavy rain, fires guaranteed fire. When there is a fire, it will spread according to the direction of the wind. In direction will change wind. So you will get a couple of options available. You've got the automatic. So the automatic option you can put down essentially is the tactician just says, here are your strategies and unit positions, go at it. Unit placement is just placement. Stratagems, you get roughly 4 stratagems and you can select, and how often you're able to use them and how many you get is all dependent on the total intelligence of your makeup of officers. If you have officers of high intelligence, you get lots of stratagems. If you've got not very many officers with high intelligence, you do not get many stratagems. That's a bad thing. Then you've also got traps. So you can set booby traps on the battlefield to ensnare or damage some soldiers, officers, and essentially entrap them for a set period of time where they constantly lose morale and can potentially be taken out right there and then. If your tactician or any of your officers have high enough intelligence, they may be able to discover and disable traps way before they become a problem. Still are. And the last option is reinforcements. You can also confirm how far away reinforcements are. A lot of times reinforcements are 4 in-game days away. So you've got 4 moves to do as much damage as you can before the reinforcements come. But if there's low public order in that city or the adjoining city, reinforcements can take a while to come, so you can delay them which is fine. You'll be able to know the exact scale of your own reinforcements from your own cities adjacent to the battle, but you will not know the number or the amount of reinforcements brought in by the enemy. And then that would be it. But battles are very quick, very snappy, very speedy. You can even hold down a button to speed it up and just skip all the animations altogether until it comes to your turn. If you are an officer or a free officer, you only control yourself, don't control anyone else. You can use a privilege that you can gain from Parliament. So when you do good things, you'll be given like a privilege. You can spend the privilege to say, I want to control the entire army this battle, and you will be given the entire army to control for that battle. And then you would have to spend another privilege to be able to do it again. Or you may potentially be promoted another rank or given the rank of governor. As a governor, you would be in control of all of the troops that your city controls. Same goes for Viceroy, which is above governor. Same goes for ruler, which you just control everybody. So if you are happy with the grand strategy aspect and you want to control everyone who's come to battle, that is entirely possible. You can control everyone that does come to the battle at the highest level. So it's possible, that's what you want to do. But you can also delegate it all to AI. If you want the AI to take care of everyone and you want to play as, you know, Lubu, and you just want to be Lubu, you don't want to do any of the other stuff, you just want to be high strength warrior, go in, you do your thing and you support your allies and support your friends. You can basically have it, you can set it up so irregardless of your situation, the AI will take control of everyone and you can role play and be that one. You can be, you can be him or her, because there are female officers in the game and they are very good too. So that's pretty much it. One of the big positives is this. The victory conditions for the attacking side, because it's a very defense-oriented game. This game borders upon, if you've got good defense, you shouldn't have too many problems when you're fighting. You'll be able to fight off bigger odds than what you have just defending. So the attacking side just needs to be all of the defenders' troops, excluding reinforcements. So if you're fast enough to get the jump on them and do as much damage as possible, even if their reinforcements outnumber you or would eventually envelop, if you kill all the defenders' troops, you win the battle and take the city. Although, for the defenders, if you defend against the attackers, excluding reinforcements, so the initial force, if you attack with 3 units, but you're being reinforced by 7, if you lose your if the enemy loses the 3 units that they've come with, even though they're being reinforced by 7 units, they lose the attack. They all retreat. Because reinforcements don't turn up to a lost battle. They won't stay for a lost battle either. They just turn up and go, it's not going to be worth it, is it? And they'll just go back to their city. Friend or foe? That'll be it. And then there's a specific gauge for your grand strategy. This just scrolls up each day. When it reaches the top, it's like a limit break. And then you're able to use a grand strategy that's centered around your commander. Only the commander can use the grand strategy, but you can suggest the grand strategy be used for the commander also as well. Grand strategies usually do something like mass confuse, mass inflame, mass panic, and mass immobilize. So it will essentially just give a status effect to a large number of units at once. It's a very good get out of jail free card, but the enemy also has one too, and they will use it, and they can change everything with that one. But otherwise, that's about it really. You don't have to focus too much on the towns. Fighting against the walled city is exactly as Sun Tzu says, not a good idea. If you can get rid of them on the fields, that's the best way to do it. And you can also attack and do proxy attacks. You don't necessarily have to go all the way in, but bear in mind, it is an officer-based game. So if you go in and if you lose units, then units may get captured, and if they get captured, they can potentially get executed. No bones about it. Play a character or not, you can just get executed and it basically nearly be game over. always be cautious with your own body. It's your body, you get one of them. You can play around with it as much as you want, but once it's gone, it's gone. And if you've made any friends, really good friends, they may pick up the mantle where you left off in your honor to go on and become, you know, him or her, if it's your wife. It's a strange world we live in, isn't it? There you have it, guys. This is Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake. For a Romance of the Three Kingdoms game, for my personal opinion, I scored this a straight 8 out of 10. I mean, a lot of people might see it as a 6 or a 7, but it depends on whether they're exposed to the period, whether they've absorbed other content, whether they know much about it through other games like Dynasty Warriors, Kessen, which of course tells a fictional story, but, you know, it involves the same characters. In terms of graphics, I like the graphics. It is for the PS4 and the Switch, so I understand that there's going to be, it's not necessarily going to be like AAA style quality. But in terms of the graphics that you haven't seen, the game has morphing faces, which has very uncanny vibes to it, not gonna lie. I mean, they would either have to be fixed or removed, but if you remove them, it just shows the breathing kind of up and down, just shows the regular breathing, but the faces move normally if you have animated faces on. That stuff will give you nightmares. But that's all fun. I like the city system. I love the fact that this is a very chill game. It's not hyper or anything like that. It's just a slow burn, like a good movie. A slow burn with very intense points where all of your planning and preparation go into effect. But there are some things that I never really went over in the time that I've really had with you, so I apologize for that. So there are things that you can demand surrender from other cities, so you can win battles without even fighting, which is fantastic. You save money, you save troops, and also if the defenders are of elevated position, you take all the castles that they control. Even if it's the ruler, you take all of their land. So you are able to essentially demand surrender. If you can't demand surrender, you can keep them weak by demanding their resources. Just like the current global superpowers of today. Just demand their resources, keep them weak so that they'll never become a threat to you without taking their land. And that's literally just for a short-term truce. So that's like, for me not attacking you right this moment, right this turn, give me all of this. And then when they give it to you, it's only a truce that lasts until the next parliament. So technically, you can do it again and again and again, possibly. So there are some great factors that you can put in. You can collude and put spies in. Espionage is really good. You can plant defectors. You can negotiate beforehand. You can just straight up visit their city and say, "Hey, dude, you want to change sides next battle?" And real recognize real. If you're stronger, these armies, they fight on survival, not necessarily on pride, but more on survival than pride. And if they see a bigger deal and a better deal, they may just go for it. Not every officer wants to go down with a sinking ship. Many stories of many officers who have defected from one force or changed sides when their force is lost, whether it be through skill shown on the battlefield or being very crafty with politics. Cao Cao was very, very well known for hiring great talent, whether they were from the enemy or not. So there's a lot that can be learned from this game, and I think it's a fantastic beginner's edition. I would straight just give this an 8 out of 10. It's accessible, it's on multiple formats. I feel this is Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake as an entry to the series is going to work very much like the way I feel Dynasty Warriors Origins is going to be next year. But that's only a prediction. The demo is out. It is fantastic, and I may do 1 or 2 videos on that in the meantime. I don't really tend to make so many structured videos, and I'm now using a new video editing software, so I'm just getting used to it. So I hope to be able to bring more. If you've liked what you've seen, please like, comment, subscribe. I hear the button actually lights up when it hears the word subscribe. Please check if it does. I hope it does. And I'll hope to bring out more content for anything that my viewer base and audience would like to see, whether it's more Romance of the Three Kingdoms, whether they want to see Dynasty Warriors content, we'll see where it goes, but that's Soggy out. And thank you again for being able to sit here for half an hour of your time. I really do appreciate it. Have a fantastic day, everyone.